So basically, some of you may know my story in terms of history. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but just to say that I started on my family tree, starting simply with knowing that two people came from England, and the one married a Baster vrouw, Christina, and no one could tell me what a Baster really is, except that they have straight hair and the light of complexion, white looking colours in the Makoland. And so from there on, it led to me finding more and finding online stuff, and then finding Aubrey. Somebody told me, contact Aubrey Springveld. And then it's quite funny today, Aubrey, I listened to a thing on Aubrey online, and the thing also started with the person saying they were told to contact Aubrey Springveld. So all of our journeys begin with contacting Aubrey. And then from there, I sat with, I think the echo is because my cell phone is still on the Zoom call as well. But I sat with finding out that this British guy married Christina Maasdorp, and the Maasdorp lady turned out to be born in Amandelboom, and from there, Amandelboom is present-day Williston, Northern Cape. And from there, I unpacked a lot of information because of a professor called Herbst on the missionary work in Amandelboom, which we actually covered last week. But in this document, at the time, actually, let me go to my notes here. At the time, I kept looking at the tree of the Maasdorp people online, besides what I had. And I found that, I actually want to share my screen here. Share screen. Host, okay, sorry. Host being me has disabled sharing, so I can't share my own things. But basically, let's just give up on that. Basically, my Christina, according to Herbst's article, her grandfather was known as die alombekende Hermanus Maasdorp en sy Baster vrou. And then it led to the question of why is it this Hermanus alombekend? And if they're referring to him as alombekend en sy Baster vrou, then that says that he's white. Because why would they say that? And I told Aubrey I found this Maasdorp tree online, and basically it goes from the beginning of the first Maasdorp all the way till today on the different branches. But then by their Hermanus, which they have on the tree, all they have is his baptism. And then you've got my family tree that begins with Hermanus and then goes all the way to where we are, most of our families in Uppington, and basically the Basters that ended up there. And then you have this third stream of Maasdorps, which should be the people in Namibia. And one of my neighbors here in Kuils River, I said to her, Lyndall, I'm covering the Maasdorp tree, so I'm getting to your family. And she said, no, we're the Namibian Maasdorps. We're not connected to the Uppington Maasdorps. But this began so you've got these three groups of Maasdorps. You've got the Rehoboth Basters in Namibia Maasdorps. You've got the Maasdorps in the Uppington area. They actually have a big taxi company. And then you've got this white European Maasdorp tree with very famous people in it, like, for example, somebody that married Sir Andries Stokenstroom. They were judges and quite a few prominent, and they themselves were quite important in history, as in part of the burger councils, part of the armies, and so you've got these two trees. So instead of a PowerPoint, I'll just show with my hand. You've got this tree that stops by Hermanus And you've got my tree that starts by Hermanus. And then you've got me saying, according to what Obi also said, you have to look at 20 years before the age of the person. And so my ancestor Frans Maasdorp was born in 1806, which means that if you give it 20 years, then that would mean that 1780-ish, his father would have been born. And in a similar way, you've got this. So you've got this question of, I think these two men are the same men. The next point is, I then stopped working, and in the time that I stopped working, I used post-it notes as well, and I actually used post-it notes, putting the whole family tree in it on the wall, this one tree and my tree, and just seeing it and trying to think, but I think this is the same person. I just need the evidence. Why is my person, why did they call him onbekend? And then as I started collecting more information and getting more and more convinced, which I will share now, that it is the same person, I then reached out, and that's where Mansell fits in. I then reached out to Mansell because Mansell kept writing about the Maasdorp every now and then, the Maasdorp people, on his website. And I just secretly tried to say, I am related to this person. And he immediately asked me, like, why do you say that? What evidence do you have? And I sent him this email. I only actually answered him about 2 weeks ago. And so I'm just going to actually just say, so basically, as I said already, the age of the two Hermanuses, my Hermanus was onbekend and white. The other white Maasdorp died in the same region as where my Maasdorp lived. So how many onbekende Hermanuses do you get living in the same area in the same time in 1860? Then my Maasdorp was also a veldkornet, and I was going to share that with you guys, that I actually got the document from 1826 pointing out, you know, I actually have the actual copy of him being made a veldkornet, which is like the police of the region. And then lastly, or not lastly, there's probably more points, but I'm now just talking off the cuff. The area where they lived in Amandelboom basically started getting encroached by the white farmers in all the neighboring regions like Calvinia, Fraserburg, Beaufort West, all around. They all wanted to move into that region. And so the Basters there's a commission called Audits Commission. And basically there again, the government did a survey. Only 4 of them met the needs of the survey. And actually only 2 could keep their farms. And one of the other veldkornets actually said, I actually found the actual quote this afternoon, so I'll read it. This Johannes Adrian Tromp, veldkornet of Karoo River Worcester, says, I know that part of the country in question, Groot Paardenkloof, and can voice for the truth of what Frans Maasdorp has stated here today, in preferring his claim of occupation with regards to it. But basically this man, he opposed that the Basters could keep their land. But when it came to Frans Maasdorp, he said, no, I support the Frans Maasdorp's claim to the land because I know the Maasdorp family. I know the farm that he's speaking about. Again, so why is my Maasdorp family important? And at that time, when all the people of color were losing their farms, they supported their claim. And basically it comes down to, it's the same Maasdorps. And even though, so the third point, sorry, I'm actually getting nervous now. That's why I'm speaking in bits. But the third thing that came out of it is one day I decided to check, did Hermanus Maasdorp, my Hermanus, have any other children other than Frans Maasdorp? And I discovered his daughter Sophia Maasdorp, who married, I might have the name wrong, that it's either Cornelius van Wyk or Hermanus van Wyk. I might have the name wrong right now. But basically, she dies in 1860 in Tee-Tyd or Mandelboom, Skietfontein, in that region. So that is his daughter, sorry. And she marries that person, and that person goes on to become the first captain of the Rehoboth Basters, linking the Rehoboth people, who, if you read any documentation online of them, it just says in 1860 they left the Tee-Tyd to go all the way to Namibia, but it never mentions where they were before 1860. And so mine just linked them before 1860 to being a part of my group and being of the same families, which definitely means their Maasdorps is our Maasdorps, and I can probably do further research on their end, which I haven't yet. So, and even in our family lines, like the other day I spoke to a clerk man who's a magistrate in Kimberley, and I asked him, did you know that when you became a magistrate that you're actually in a line of family that actually has magistrates in? And no, he didn't even know that the clerks are connected to the Maasdorps in any way. So it's just quite funny how you have this family line and certain things running through the Maasdorp family, which you see running through our family without knowing that we are connected to that family. And I'm sure if I go further, so the missing link of the Maasdorp family is our Hermanus Maasdorp. He goes and marries a pastor vrouw, changing the history of that tree, and that tree stopping right over there, and our tree continuing. And then then that tree stopping there because they then trek even further into Namibia. And so you end up having these three different Maasdorp groupings connected by Hermanus Maasdorp. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you give it a clap, even if it's a virtual clap? Thank you so much, Chandré. Your research has maybe taken many, many hours of being in cyberspace, in being in other people's heads, and even in the heads of those who's gone long before us. And try to figure and puzzle, to fill in the puzzle. And you say that this missing link, this missing puzzle piece is just the one that you are looking for. And I hope that, when one day you do get the satisfaction and the joy of finding that puzzle piece, that you are going to share with us, the amazing conclusion or the affirmation that you got of finding the Hermanus al onbekend.
Oh, sorry, Eleanor. Eleanor,
yes.
I just forgot, and we also are running on the last 10 minutes or 8 minutes of the Zoom channel. I forgot, I wanted to add as an end to say to throw it to Mansell to add a little bit more, because if you guys don't know, Mansell, I'm sorry if I might embarrass you, but Mansell is actually a historian and quite well written and well known, and I'm so glad I didn't know that before I contacted him, because I would have never contacted him if I knew what he has done for our country and things. But why especially I appreciate Mansell is, and I'm just giving a little intro, is he loves to write on the slave history as well. And he is one of the people that pushed for Afrikaners to accept the slave roots and Khoi roots in the history way before it was popular. And so I just want to ask if you want to add anything to my story, though. You'll be a speaker in the future, but for today, just a little bit of background to some of what I've shared.
Yes, okay. Just quickly, because I know time is short. Chandré, you're onto a big thing here. Don't ever stop. What's interesting for me is you actually are working your way from the bottom upwards. And it's coming together. I've been working with families from the top downwards. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I've done the bottom upwards already. But for me to get more clues and links, I've changed tack and I've gone from bottom to upwards to top downwards. So now I'm looking at all the people that appear in the records. And every person I find, I note, and I build up family trees. And I'm looking at clusters. So very much in line with COVID-19, clusters tell you stories. And if you follow the clusters, you're going to find many more links. So what I'm saying here is that actually, I'm sure that your Hermanus Maasdorp is the one and same person. They are not two different people. This is the great-great-grandson of my Mansell of Bengal. He himself is of slave descent, but he's from a very illustrious family, but he ends up at Skipfontein. And his wife this is the crucial part. You know, the French have a saying, cherchez la femme, look for the woman. And believe you me, that's going to help you more. You've spoken about Sophia, right? The sister. Mm. But you didn't mention their mother. Yeah, and their mother is a vital clue. She's a comfort. Yeah. And if you take the Van Wyks and you take the Comforts and you take the Maasdorps, they are all frontier families. And they all have descendants in the white and the so-called colored community, the Basters and everyone. Everyone's connected because we're dealing with the frontier. And that's so the thing that's really fascinating me now is, have you been looking the church records at Tilbach? Now, why I'm saying this is because after I read your notes, it dawned on me, it suddenly came to me, yes, at that time, something went really horribly wrong at Tilbach. They had a Cape-born minister who was a colored man, a person of color. He was a descendant of Anna Groothenning van Bengale. He was trained as a pastor in the Netherlands. He came back and he had revolutionary ideas. He wanted to proselytize, to convert more people to the faith, to the Christian faith. And in Tilbach, he started baptizing what were then called Hottentots and Bushmen, and it caused a stink because some of the more established families objected. There was a breakaway in the church, but he managed to baptize a number of people, and many of these people ended up at the Sakrivier, right? Yeah. The Gekwa were, and some of the Skipfontein people. So the question is, where were they baptizing their children? And my understanding is that the Basters, they had asked for, at a Mandelboom, and they had asked for the Moravians to come to them. Almost as though they wanted to be included in the civic arrangements of the area. What starts happening is you've got this contestation of competing. The different churches are now fighting over who can convert which souls to join which faith. So you've got the London Missionary Society, you've got the Moravians, you've got the Dutch Reformed Church. They all want to capture souls. And this is what you've got to bear in mind. If you're looking at that area, you now need to look at the records of the Moravians, of the London Missionary Society, and of the Dutch Reformed Church. And you need to follow the families, the Van Wyks. Now, I can tell you, as I said, I'm working from the top downwards. I've reached the point where I've got Willem Namakwa, who is a white man, but not so white because his grandmother was related to the Comforts. And he's the man that marries a Nama woman and goes native, as it were. But he's a nasty, nasty character because he was playing both sides. And he was instrumental in organizing some of the commandos to eliminate and wipe out the Bushmen, especially because and any sort of Khoi person who had lost cattle and had to resort to a Bushman-like existence, scavenging, hunter-gathering, they were all then vermin and declared, exterminatable, shall we say. So it's a very, very, this is serious stuff. It's terribly exciting and terribly tragic. So I don't want to say any more, but I'm saying, look at the Kamfer family, look at the Van Wyks, look at the Maasdorps, and put them together and try and collect all the information you can and build up clusters. You're going to come up with an amazing story, which is going to be so valuable to everyone else.